So we have this video from Gacha Smack saying Arknights Endfield Gacha exposed us all. Now, my understanding of the Arknights Gacha system is something like at about a certain number, I don't know the number, but at a certain number of the banner, you hit a 50-50. It's not guaranteed. If you lose it, you go up a little bit more and then you're guaranteed on the best unit or the unit you're looking for, whatever ranking that unit is. I think it's 6 stars. But if you win, it resets. And also, if you fail to hit max pity or get the character in general on that banner, it does not carry over to the next banner. That is my understanding of it from way back when. But apparently, there's new info. So let's see what Gacha Smack has to say.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video by yours truly. It's finally time to discuss the elephant in the room. I'm sure many of my community members have been waiting on my opinion on Arknights Enfield's Gacha system. Is it good? Is it bad? All this stuff. I made this video already. I literally did. But we've learned new things about its Harry Potter book of a gacha system. We've learned new things. And so this video was put out over a month ago when I got invited to the beta and I was sponsored to do a live stream for the beta. Fun little fact, when I was sponsored to do the live stream in the beta, and you can go, anybody who was watching this video and you were in that live stream, you can verify this. There was multiple people asking me, hey, Smack, isn't this a sponsored stream? Because I was being blatantly and blunt about my criticism.
Yeah, he doesn't give a crap. He doesn't give a crap. It's sponsored. I don't care. I'm still going to say what I think. I wonder if he got in trouble with that with the developers, if they're like, hey, man, you got to tone that down.
Criticisms and discontent with Arknights Endfield in that first 3 hours. This is a literal fact, what I'm about to say. When I finished the stream, the sponsor segment, I then proceeded to say, guys, I'm going to be honest. I don't think I like this game. I don't think it's for me. I said something along the lines there. I was like, that was pretty bad. And I slept on it. I woke up the next day, played it again, unsponsored.
So he really said that with a sponsored stream. That is insane. Yo, guys, I know I'm sponsored. I know I'm getting like $5,000 for covering this game, but it's just not for me. But I'm definitely taking my 5,000 anyways.
And the game got better. It went from shit to enjoyable. And then the next day I did it again. It went from enjoyable to, oh, I really actually like this game now. And so it's fascinating how, you know, one's mentality can change over time with more hours put into a game.
Well, it's kind of like certain shows, I'll say like One Piece, where the first couple episodes, it's just kind of like, it's all right. Or maybe you're even like, it's kind of bad. Once you get into the meat and potatoes of it, maybe it takes a little bit longer, maybe not so long. But once you get there, you're like, you know what? This is actually pretty good. It's actually worth it. And that's why I don't like when people have rules for shows like, hey, if I watch 3 episodes and I'm not, into it yet, I'm quitting. And it's kind of like, well, certain shows, they have a slow start and it's like that for a reason. But, I'm going off on a tangent. But yeah, try games out without just quitting within an hour of playtime, right? Some games like Crosscode, it takes a while to really get to the game, but once you get there, you're like, man, this game is awesome.
And that was what led me to give it more and more chances. This is a quick little tangent. Basically, your initial thought process can change with more time, with more effort and more thought put into whatever the hell it is you're pondering about. I say all of that to say, if somebody out there is telling you you can't trust Gacha Smack's word because he's sponsored, they're doing what I would like to call a character assassination. You're not actually tackling the arguments I'm making in this video. You're just trying to take away.
Yeah, somebody can be sponsored and still give a good take in that sponsored video about the product they are reviewing. Yeah, you could still say like, hey, here's where the weaknesses of the product are. Here are the strengths, even though you're sponsored. It really just depends on really the sponsor themselves of how they want you to do and what's in the contract. Now, I've never been sponsored, so I'm just guessing. And it seems like they just gave him free reign. They said, hey, Gacha Smack, you can do whatever you want. We just want you to review our game.
Away my credibility, because that's one of the easiest ways to take away credibility, is to say that person sponsored their page, you can't trust their word. But I urge you guys to just listen to the mere reasoning that I am making when I'm talking about this game's gotcha system today. It has nothing to do with sponsorships. In fact, if you look at this video, this was published after I was sponsored, which means by definition through these guys, if I am trying to get more sponsors, you should be able to go to my channel, search for the video since I've played the beta, and you should see a lot of Arknights Endfield glazing. You should see nothing but Slorp Glorp and Arknights Endfield, right?
And it says a lot, right? Because on the sponsored stream, he's tearing into them. But outside of that, he plays the game a little bit more. He's not sponsored anymore. He has nothing locking him down to any type of opinion outside of himself. And he says, you know what? The game's pretty good. I mean, I feel like that has a lot of credibility, right? Like, you watch a Gacha Smack video now, you're like, man, I'm probably going to be getting, a real opinion from whatever he's talking about. And that, that's really good for retaining some type of audience that's looking for legitimate opinions instead of just some type of curated, I'm saying this for the money or the viewership or anything like that. I'm saying this because I think it.
But that's nowhere to be found. The only video I've made since the beta was this, and this was me critiquing the hell out of its gotcha system. I know that was a long-winded intro, but I say this to basically preface this video as that has nothing to do with what I'm about to tell you in this video. What I'm about to tell you in this video is my own opinions, sincerity, and all. And I'm going to be sponsored when Arknights Endfield launches. I got 3 live streams and 2 videos. None of that has anything to do with what I feel about the game. It doesn't. Inside of the sponsor, of course, sure, you could say that. Outside of the sponsor, my words and my sincerity belong to me. And without further ado, let's talk about this gotcha system. One of the first things I want to talk about with Arknights Endfield.
Okay, he has a lot of notes up here. So here's the main problems. I'm sure he's going to read it out himself, but I'm just skimming over it real quick. He's show the main pros, he has to scroll down a bit more in his notes. And I wonder, because he's making this video again, if new information came out. And that's why he's, covering the gotcha system once more before the game comes out.
Is how we are even measuring this game's gotcha system. How are we even grading it? Well, first,
how should you measure it, right? Number one, you got to ask yourself this: does it have a weapon banner, right? If no, instantly right there, I'm already probably smiling like, okay, no weapon banner, no bullcrap there. Okay, cool. Does it have a 50-50 system, right? You got to ask yourself these questions. How does the 50-50 system work, right? And also, here's a big part that I don't think people talk about. How much currency can you accumulate within one patch cycle? That also matters a lot, right? Because if the pity is, let's say pity to hit, I don't know, your guaranteed character is 500 summons. But the amount you can obtain in one patch cycle is 1,000 summons. All of a sudden, that gotcha system seems pretty nice, right? In adverse to that, what if one says pity is 20 summons, but you can only obtain 10 in one patch cycle? I mean, which one is better, right? Probably the one with 500, and it's 500 more attempts to get it early, right? So you really got to think about stuff like that when you're grading these gambling systems, right? And also the amount of refunds you get, right? The little free refunding currencies you get, like a Genshin, Wuthering Waves, Zenless. I think HSR does it too. I haven't played that game. So yeah, I mean, let's see what he has to say about that.
It's a AAA game with over $100 million of investment, if not more. It might even be $200 million. And when I think about that budget size, I think what other games in the space had that budget size. And those are going to be the mainstream gacha games like Hoyoverse games as well as Wuthering Waves. All 3 of them belong in the same category.
True, you have to compare it to games with the same amount of investment in the game, right? Because a really cheap game that's super free to play friendly, well, I mean, yeah, you can pump one of those out real quick, right? Because you didn't put any money into the game. You didn't really invest that much money into it. So if it fails, you're going to be all right. When it comes to something where you're putting all this money into it and you need to make your money back and some, you might structure your system a little bit accordingly to that, right? I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying it's, the realism that comes with putting out a product that's really expensive.
And so that means we need to compare them in their gacha systems and how they measure up against one another. But just like in my last video, I would like to remind you guys that I think all three of them are polished turds. This is how I refer to them.
Absolutely. Gacha systems in general, I haven't seen a single one where it's like, you know what? That is an interesting mechanic to have in a video game when I want to obtain my video game characters, and it would be fun and enjoyable. It's not. It's really not. Like, I don't think anybody really likes it. It's more of people just like the games and the fact that the games constantly update and new stuff comes out all the time. I think that's what people like. But the actual acquiring character system is horrible. And the prices for actually paying for the currency, if you choose to do so, is outrageous. This stuff is garbage.
That means they're dog shit designed to look like they're not dog shit. But in reality, they're all bending you over. You're just choosing which game you want to be bent over by. These monetary incentives are egregiously bad, and they're designed to maximize a profit and prey on gacha gambling addicts. That's a fact. You can argue with the wall about that respectfully. Now, that said, one of my biggest problems, how we're going to break this down actually, is main problems with Arknights Endfield Gacha in comparison to those games, and then what I like about its gacha in comparison to those games. Let's get into it. Intentionally convoluted and confusing.
Oh, true. This is something that has always been done for microtransactions, right? For example, why is it that when you play any video game that has skins you can buy, they have a separate currency for purchasing said skins? Very simple. It's to obfuscate your perception of the value of the skin you'll be buying. Because if a skin says $20 in comparison to 100 coin, you're going to think about it a little bit differently, right? Because if you have recently, let's say you bought like some type of pack that gave you 500 coins, all of a sudden, 100 coins doesn't feel like $20. That's the goal, right? But you're still actually spending $20. This is done in order to just milk the money out of people who don't think about it that hard when they're really trying to purchase some type of microtransaction in a video game. And remember this, the gacha system is confusing so they can make you feel good about it too, right? Think about other people online like, oh, it's actually good, and maybe it's okay, right? Maybe it's decent. When you see that online, you go, oh my God, everybody's saying the gacha system is good. Let me put money into that. And it's confusing, so you're not going to try to understand it. But people online, your trusted content creators telling you it's good, so you're going to be a good little boy and spend money on it.
Its gacha system has, bar none, been the most convoluted and confusing gacha system I have ever seen in the mainstream gacha space. It's like reading a Harry Potter novel. And my problem with this is right here. The rating for the game is 12.
Oh yeah, they're doing 12 plus. They will always target kids because kids are more likely to purchase for this type of stuff, right? Because they don't work. Like 99% of kids that can afford these games, quote unquote, afford these games, don't work. So they go to their parents, hey, can I use your credit card? It's only X amount of coins, or I'm only going to be spending $20 or whatever. And they go, yeah, sure, whatever. So they're targeting children because children have no sense of money, that's money's value, and they don't earn it, right? So they don't know. I mean, why wouldn't you do this, right, for a company, right? Also, there are some things where it's like if you wanted to make a mature game and put it on the Google Play Store, your game does get pushed out of the algorithm, which is not good. I can understand that aspect of somebody's trying to defend it, like, hey, it is kind of unfair for like competition in the Google Play Store or Apple Store space. But outside of that, I mean, this game's on PC, it's on console. Like, you're still gonna have an audience if it was rated mature, which it should be because you're literally gambling. I'm pretty sure in most or even all nations, gambling is illegal for kids to do. Or am I wrong? Like, but for some reason, when it comes to collecting characters online, gambling is okay, even though you can spend money on it. I don't know, man.
Years old and up. I have no sympathy for adults who can't read. I don't. If you can't read and you're an adult, fully mentally matured, you're a moron. No sympathy for it.
I agree. I mean, if you get got and all the information is there in front of you and you go, oh my God, I can't believe I fell for it. It's like, hey, dude, it is what it is. But a child, it's like you're taking advantage of them. And that's horrible.
For you. But if you're 12 and 12 to like the 19-year-old range where you're still trying to find that same rationality and matured or wisdom of an adult, then you can easily be manipulated. And unfortunately, that's why it's intentionally confusing and convoluted, because the people who aren't fully matured are going to make those goofy decisions. They're not going to read. They're going to make mistakes. It happens. Younger people make mistakes all the time. And that is the problem I take. It's very maximized in terms of predatory nature by design. The next thing I don't like is no pity carryover. The more control.
Yeah, that's garbage. That's garbage, especially because of the way a lot of people like to play these games. I typically don't play games with the pity system by just, I'm going to throw a couple in and see what I get. I don't usually do that. I usually am more intentional with my plans to get a character. Like, I'm going to get the max amount required and then go. If I get lucky, I get lucky. If I don't, I'll still get the character. That's usually how I play. But a lot of people, they're like, I want to roll now. I want to roll now. And I think they did that on purpose so they can get those people to spend more money. Because if their pity doesn't carry over, it's like, oh, dude, I missed it. No. And then the next character comes out. It's like, now my pity didn't carry over. Now I got to spend. Right? That's what they're trying to do. Get those people. Which is horrible because, I mean, pity carrying over is one of the most reassuring things ever because you're like, hey, maybe I'll go 40 in on this one, a character I don't really want that much, but I kind of want him, and let's see if it happens. If it doesn't, cool, I'll just get the next one. Yeah, this is pretty bad.
Over your pulls, the better you can plan. That's why people take issues with no pity being carried over. The less control equals more FOMO and more predatory nature.
Absolutely.
That means you're going to be in those situations where so much time is going by to where you want to pull on another banner. But that time is going by so slowly that you eventually end up pulling on that banner anyways. Now you can sit here and blame the player, but that is a gacha design has proved and it has worked. There are full grown adults who will pull on a banner knowing they shouldn't because it's just that easy to pull on the banner. This is gambling. It's like you stay in a casino long enough, you're eventually going to sit down on the machine and do a spin. That is how it works. Now, there are people and outliers that don't do that, but the majority of people are gonna be like, fuck, I'm here. I might as well do a 10 pull. And so that's why people don't like the no pity carryover.
Yeah, I mean, how many people, they just instantly hit that number? I think it's 1,600 in most games to hit that number, and like, I gotta do a freaking multi-summon right now. Even though they don't have to, even if it's on a banner for a character they don't want, they just have to see the number. They have to see the thing go gold, and they'll scream, oh my God, I got the character, whatever, right? Or they lose, or they don't get anything, whatever the case may be. It's taking advantage of those people. And especially because they've already been trained to do that. Think about it. All the games that came out before this, they all carry over pity. So they've already been trained to do that. And their target audience, right, are people who played the newer gacha games, the new 3D open world action adventure type games. That is those people and the people who played the old Arknights. That is the target audience. And they're already trained to do that. It's over. So many people are going to be complaining on Reddit. I can already see it.
And guess what? I'm on their side with that one. Now, the next one, the 50-50 system. Now, there's nuance to this, and I'll talk about that. First of all, what do I like about the 50-50 system? It's very simple. The less gambling there is, the better the system. I have a philosophy here, and that is the house always wins in gambling. I don't give a fuck how lucky you are. Eventually, you keep sticking around in that casino, and the house will win.
Okay, so that statement that he gave is very true. With the less gambling there is, the better the system. But again, I have a very limited understanding of the actual system because I learned it like 7 months ago or something. So I want him to elaborate more. Hopefully he explains the system a bit so then I can give my opinion because I don't want to talk about something I don't fully understand.
So the best thing to do is if as soon as you win, you get off, you never play again, right? That's the best case scenario. But unfortunately in gacha games, we continue playing. They're designed to be played well as long as they can get your ass to stay on the game. And so the house always wins. That's why 50-50s are fucking horrible. They don't feel good. But here's the thing. The nuance is Arknights Endfield system, its gacha system, it is entirely designed around the 50-50. Its whole goddamn gacha system designed around the 50-50. What I mean by that is its 50-50 system is inherently better than Wuthering Waves and Hoyoverse game.
So how exactly is it better? I'm sure he's going to get into it right now.
Because if you lose the 50-50, there is a chance for you to lose it and it actually ends up being better than if you won it. I'll explain that later. With all that said though, that's pretty much all I don't like about the game's gacha system. Pretty much it. There's one burning question we do need to be mindful of. In fact, I think I made a whole page about this. We're going to take a quick break. These are important questions. Banner schedule.
Oh, I forgot about that. The scheduling too, not just the amount of resources you require in a patch, but yes. Could you imagine if the banner scheduling was, so usually in one of these newer games, it's 2 characters in one phase, or I mean in across 2 phases of one patch. Imagine if they said, you know what? Both characters are going to be out at the same time for every patch, available, ready to go, and you can choose right now. That is very important. And how long is the actual patch to patch cycle, right? Well, I think usually it's 6 weeks, right? Maybe more. Let's see what else he has.
Resource acquisition for pulls per patch. Power creep aggression.
Ooh, that's a good one. Power creep aggression. So how long does it take for characters to, outpower the old ones in the end game? That is the question, right? I think for Wuthering Waves, it's every new version, the power creep hits very hard. And during the actual version, like 1.x or 2.x, 3.x, whatever, during that cycle, it's a slow, deliberate buildup. Like, here's a good example, right? Galbrina was really strong when she came out, and she still is now. But then you hit 3.0, and the 3.0 characters, they just completely obliterate the entirety of the value that Galbrina has, right? And we'll definitely see when Imith comes out, because she's a DPS too, right? So we'll definitely see on that how much stronger would Imith be than Galbrina, the final DPS of version 2.
Free-to-play options and their value, and your purchasing power.
Ooh, yeah, free-to-play options. When I hear free-to-play options, I typically hear the non highly desired characters, meaning like the 5 stars in Wuthering Waves, right? Or like the S ranks in ZZZ. So basically, A ranks and 4 stars. How good are they and how often do they come out? Basically, the level below whatever the highest rank is in Enfield, which I believe is a 5-star, because they have 6 stars too, right? That's what I believe. How valuable are they? How often do they come out? Very important. All of these things are very important, and we won't know until the game is actually out for like 3 months. You kind of get an understanding of how it's going. The general ups and downs, lefty righty, typical patch cycleness.
Okay. I was looking at this and I was thinking in Wuwa, 145 pulls, which is typically the average player's luck. They go up to about 65 and they hit pity, and then they get their character and it's a 50-50 loss. Then they have to go up to the pity again, 65. Does that make sense? And for some people, it's about 70, right? So it just depends. But 145 times 2 is 290 pulls. This means if you lose two 50-50s back to back, you had to do 290 pulls to get both those characters. And when you have both those characters, you still don't have a signature weapon.
That is so true. Oh my goodness. So in Wuthering Waves, I've been playing it since it came out, right? I won on Yinland, then I won on Jinsei, right? Then I proceeded to lose on every single character that I pulled on until Galbrina. I kid you not. From that time period, from 1.x to the end of 2.x, I was losing. And it's very bad because you just can't get weapons. Or when you do get a weapon, you simply just have to sacrifice not getting a character. So I got Carlotta, right? And then I wait for her rerun to get her weapon, because I just kept losing. I expect to lose nowadays. So I think it also should be based off of, if I lose every time, how bad is the system, right? We should never base it off of like the average. No, we should. We should base it off the average, but worst case scenario, how bad is it? How bad would I feel if I keep losing if I'm free to play? I think that's a good way to look at it.
Because in both Wuwa and Hoyo games, your pulls can't be equated to conversion for a weapon banner purchase. Now, you might be thinking of that remaining leftover that you get as a little leftover resource. Most people who are budget players are just converting that into more pulls because they don't want to spend money in the store. And so they convert that into more pulls to try and secure the character. So that can't be applied either. But the reason I bring this up is because these are questions that also factor in to which game is actually going to end up being the more player-friendly concept. Unfortunately, the resource acquisition for pulls per patch, it's in a vacuum. Some Reddit thread might have it, but I personally just like to find out for myself to really feel how much resources we're getting. And I'm gonna be real with you.
Yeah, I think the way some people grade it too is unrealistic. They'll be like, oh, you get this number per patch. But what they're grading is quite literally every avenue you can get it for free. For example, like exploration. Let's be honest, it's not realistic to expect the average player to run around the entire map and collect every single chest, every single mini game that you can do to get all the gems in that patch cycle. It's just not realistic. People got jobs, people have school, they have places to be. And also, even just completing all the events. Sometimes the events can be overwhelming, especially if you're doing other stuff, playing other games. So that's why that I think even time, right? It should be resource acquisition for pools per patch within X amount time limit. That should also be a factor.
In the first month, it's still going to be a gray area because they're very generous in those first launch incentive pool resources. Does that make sense? You really don't know what you're getting until about 2 to 3 months into the game, where you start to see them
Yep.
laying out those live streams
Yep.
and saying, these are the events, this is what we're giving out, so on and so forth. But we don't know this question, right? And this is a very important,
especially with the first patch coming out. The first patch ever, or the first 1.0 for any game, will always have excess because they want to hook you and keep you in, right? They're gonna make you feel good, give you a whole bunch of goodies. Like, come on, play our game. Here are the goodies. You get the character. You're feeling good. You're feeling great. You're beating the end game because end game is always going to be easy and not so difficult when it comes out. And then slowly, as time goes on, as the FOMO hits and you want to get new characters, they start slowly taking away how much you get. Oh, you used to get I'm gonna just put out a number 100,000 a patch. Now you're getting 85, right? Start salami slicing away the amount you get, and then a big patch comes out. All of a sudden, you got that big number again, just to keep you hooked.
important question. We do know the banner scheduling, but the banner scheduling goes in alignment with their 50-50 system and how it's beneficial to how they structure it. Once again, this will make sense in a point, because most people think, oh, it's a lesser, you have less time to acquire that limited character. That means bad. But you're looking at one small part of the picture known as the gacha picture. When you analyze the whole picture, you understand why it's a less banner scheduling. At the end of the day, it's all gacha garbage, but these details do make a difference when you compare them to their peers. Power creep aggression. We don't know that answer. We don't know how fast it's going to happen, right? Power creep aggression in HSR was one of the most egregious things I ever saw. In CZN, it's looking like it'll end up giving HSR a run for its money. We'll see what happens there. But power creep aggression in Wuwa was one of the best experiences I had, right? Its power creep aggression wasn't that bad. Now it looks like it's ramping up a little.
It's getting pretty bad right now. It feels like every new character, they need the character coming out right next to them, and even maybe Ansem, the third after that. And if you don't have those characters, it's like, dude, endgame is it's hard, dude. Like, it's hard to win now. It used to be where you could freaking play Camellia and have a Sanhua, and you probably would have Shorekeeper too. Most people would. Shorekeeper Verena, and then your other team would be, I don't know, like a freaking Zhangli Yao, um, Yinlin, and Verena, and you beat the whole thing. Nowadays, it's like, well, your character's gonna be limited based off of the effects on the tower. If you try to fight, you're gonna lose with that team, even though it's your best team. Your second best team, they're just not that strong, so you can't get the max amount of rewards on this level. So just take what you can get. That's what it feels like now, unless you buy every character, of course.
Bit. We'll see what happens, right? But we don't know what this is going to look like in Arknights Endfield either. In my beta experience, this was actually really solid in terms of the standard banner characters. But I mean, it all starts off that way in the beginning of God.
Dude, the standard banner characters are always goated in like the first 2 to maybe 3 patches. Always goaded. And then it hits. It just hits out of nowhere. They just become garbage. I remember when everybody was talking about like how Char is the GOAT, and then all of a sudden they were calling him a fraud. It felt like it happened in 2 seconds.
Games. Free to play options and their value. This I can tell you definitively, the beginning of the game, Arknights Endfield has some really good free to play value. There's a lot of weapons to purchase. It's like 10-to-1 weapons in terms of quantity when you compare it to Wuwa and Genshin. There's a lot of weapons. You can even buy them outright from the shop with the Arsenal ticket. No gamba, just blink, give me my 6-star.
How do you get the ticket? Do you guys spend money, or is it some type of like one you can get per patch if you complete the entire endgame or something like that? I don't know.
Purchase power. I've heard, and this is kind of in a vacuum too, I guess we'll see when it comes out. People say China already has their prices out. They've done the comparison. I've heard that the purchase power is stronger in Arknights because 120 pity is lower than the pity of Wuwa and Genshin, correct? Well, if they're giving you 50 pulls for a $100 purchase, just like Wuwa does for its $100, but their pity is lower, this is objectively better purchasing power. So for a spender, spend $100, I got 50 pulls. 120 is the
Oh yeah, if you're a spender, that's slightly better. I'd be happy if I was a spender. Absolutely.
pity. That means I only need 70. In Wuwa, spend $50, I get 100 pulls, but I have 40 more pulls to make on top of the 70. You see what I mean? So that's literally objectively better purchase power. All of these are good things to keep in mind as we're going through it. Some of the answers we don't know yet, so it's hard to kind of like measure, but it is worth keeping in consideration. So let's go back to what do I like about its gacha system? That's important. The weapon banner system. I've heard mixed bag like takes on this, but I feel we can give a very good take on it. It doesn't share pull resources with limited characters.
Boom, right there, already a W. Right there, I didn't even know that. Holy cow. Amazing. That is amazing. So how do we actually get them then?
That's what I like about it. In comparison to its peers, right? If you just ask me, period, I say, motherfucker, we should be grinding these weapons for free. But in comparison to its peers, the polished turds, not sharing pull resources with the limited character banner means more limited character resources to pull on the limited character banner. Can grind Arsenal tickets weekly for free and save up. This is a fact.
So that's how you get them. Okay, you gotta get the Arsenal tickets. Now, how many of those tickets do I need to get to guarantee a weapon, and how long does that take, right? How many can you get per week? All that matters. But this sounds way better than the garbage of having to like kind of like budget based off of, oh, you know, I can skip this character to get this character's weapon type of deal.
There's people out there saying, oh, you can only get them if you pull on the banners. This is not true. This is demonstrably so. Let me go ahead and pull up this, and we come over here to Arknights Endfield, and you go over here to weekly routine. A permanent weekly routine screen has been added to the event calendar center. Turn that shit off. Okay. Turn that shit off. All right. Anyways, a new weekly routine. Okay. So you're going to be able to do weekly grind. That's going to net you ore barrels, which is your weekly pull resource or your pull resource, and then Arsenal tickets. So you can acquire these outside of pulling on characters. Now, of course, it's going to be a finite amount, but the fact that you can still grind it bi-weekly, every week, not bi-weekly, you can eventually save up and get a character completely for free on top of pulling on characters. This is when you...
I think he meant weapon, but does the weapon leave once the character leaves? We got to know that too, right? Because you can be grinding this up and have enough, but by the time you have enough, you know, the character you wanted to have their weapon, they're already gone. You got to wait for the rerun or get it on a new character. So that's some important information we need there.
Compare it to the other games, better. Because you're not sharing the resources with the characters, and you can grind that shit for free. Now, one thing that comes to mind is you can buy 7 pulls out of Wuwa shop and save that shit for a X amount of time. But those 7 pulls aren't a lot of pulls when you have 80 fucking pulls to make, are they? No, they're not. And if you decide to pull on the weapon banner in Wuwa, you fuck yourself over in the future when you want to pull on the next character. Shakona and Kartethia, you pull Shakona early, get her win the 50-50, so then you pull Shakona's weapon. Well, now when Kartethia comes up, you wasted your weapon, your Kartethia pulls on getting the weapon for Shakona. So you still got a shortage there, and you still end up getting bent over and spending money on the Kartethia banner, especially if you lose the 50-50. You see what I mean? Sharing that resource.
Dude, the way they scheduled Chiacona than Cartathea was so tactful too. Because people are like, oh yeah, Chicona, she's so cool. Look at her, she sings, you get her. And then you don't know who's coming out next. All of a sudden, they reveal, hey, by the way, Cartathea's coming out. And they gave you the character that supports the DPS first before the actual DPS. That is criminal, dude. It's blindsiding people.
Fucking sucks balls. That's gotcha garbage. That's polished turd territory. So when we come back to this, it's actually better in comparison to not share the resource and even have an external resource to acquire Arsenal tickets. That's how I view that. The 50-50 system is better than Hoyo and Kudo because you can lose a 50-50 to another limited character. This is massive. You have a 28.6% chance for that 50-50 to land on the other two.
Oh, wait. I didn't even notice what he just said. Wait. You can lose to another limited character. Oh my goodness. Dude, that makes losing so much more exciting than just, oh yeah, the same few characters that have been on the standard banner for 12 plus years. Oh wow. Great. Got another one. Dude, that is really good actually. That is supposed to be the fun. Okay, that's supposed to be the great fun of rolling, right? You don't know what you're gonna get. That's what makes games like Dragon Ball Legends, when it was good, really fun because you can pull, you get a crazy animation. You're like, what? I got him? No way. Even though I wanted him or her, whatever. But in the Hoyo system, it's like, no, dude, you're either getting the limited or you're getting one of these same five couple of average run of the mill characters that you've been getting for the past 35 years. I hope you're excited. Let's roll again. Garbage, man.
Two charted characters. Now, what does that mean? Well, if they do a PB&J scenario, and there is a caveat to this, and I'll talk about that. If Arknights Endfield does the PB&J scenario, which is very prevalent and popular in both HSR and Wuthering Waves, where they line the two best synergistic characters right up to one another, forcing you to feel like you need to pull on them back to back. And if you skip the character, well, then the next time they get reran, they get done in another PB&J scenario with.
Yeah, I already know they're gonna do it, dude. It's a never-ending system. It's a team game. Every gacha game's a team game. You need another character to buff up another character. They would never do it in an ethical manner. Like, okay, DPS comes out, and then the next two characters that come out have nothing to do with DPS. But then the character after those two characters is a supporter or an enabler of that DPS. It would never happen. But that would be the ethical way to do it.
The even better character. You see what I mean? It gets fucking garbage and slimy, polished territory. But in Arknights Endfield, if there's a PB&J scenario, you can actually get the best outcome by losing a 50-50. Because if you win the 50-50, well, then you have to pull again when their character pops up. You see what I'm saying? So you win the 50-50, you get Chicona in Arknights Endfield. The next character pops up, Cartathea. You lose the 50-50, you have to go full pity, you get the Cartathea. You've now spent way more resources and possibly money by winning the 50-50 for Chicona. Whereas in Arknights Endfield, once again, you lose the 50-50, but you get Cartathea for the loss.
That's a pretty decent loss, right? I wouldn't be mad. I'll be like, oh, I lost and I got you. That's how it should feel in a gacha, right? Like when you lose, but it's like, I got something maybe slightly worse or somebody I kind of wanted, but, wasn't looking for exactly. So you don't feel like you want to jump off a bridge because you got Ling Yang for the 9,000th time, right? So I think that's pretty fun. That's pretty good. And it makes rolling not feel like a like a freaking trance where you're either going to be very not even happy, you're going to be very relieved or very upset.
Now you go up to 120 and you get Chicona. You've just got two limited characters in 120 pulls. This is once again shitting on a 50-50 system inside of Wuwa and Genshin Impact in that regard. Final thing is 120 pulls in Arknights Endfield gives you enough resources to hit 40 pulls on the weapon banner because it converts into arsenal tickets as you do pulls on top of the other shit that converts into limited pulls. So you take those arsenal tickets now, put them in the banner, 25% chance at 40 pity to get a limited character, but you're guaranteed at bare minimum to get a 6-star weapon.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. And then, people are going to be hitting that 25% chance consistently too. So you get the weapon and the character. Oh my goodness, that would feel so good. This is way better than like the basic run of the mill. Either you win or you lose, and if you lose, you just go again and then you win, which is boring. This is actually much more exciting. I would actually be excited to roll if I had a lot of currency instead of just like, whatever I get is what I get.
That means you got Shakona, Kartathea, and a 6-star weapon. In Wuwa, if you lose that 50-50, there is no chance, and in Hoyo, there is 0 chance for you to get a limited banner character. There is guaranteed chance that you get somebody like Ling Yang. No, and the further that game goes on, the more that shit feels like ass because you keep getting characters who are getting down and lower and lower in value. This is one of the worst, painful experiences in playing those games.
What they should have done with like the Hoyo system is every 3 patches they add a new character to standard banner. If they did that, and a character's actually good by the way, if they did that, the standard banner would be way more exciting. But they'd never do it because it probably doesn't cost them too much money. They can afford it, but they don't want to afford basically giving out free stuff like that all the time. They don't want to have to take the loss on that for your convenience, unfortunately.
50-50s fucking suck in Wuwa and Genshin because if you lose it, you're not getting anything good. It's a terrible experience. And so there's trade-offs here. If you lose a 50-50, it's a 28.6% chance. Chances are the odds are against you to get those limited banner characters. And so it's like barely better, right? There's that chance. It's barely better. This is why I said it's more or less gacha garbage. All of them. It's more or less gacha garbage.
Yeah, it's all garbage, but this is what they do, right? They slightly increase the value of their gacha system with every new game that comes out that's mainstream, right? They're just gonna slightly bump it up a bit, so it gives people a reason to look their way, like, oh look, we're slightly better than the guy before you, right? And slowly over the next 20,000 years, eventually the gacha system is gonna be so good that everybody's gonna be playing gacha games. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be there to see it. We're gonna be stuck with the slop for the rest of our lives.
Oh, but this is better. You're still getting bent over, little bro. Like, it doesn't matter which game you're playing. You're still getting bent fucking over. You know what I'm saying? They're giving you that bad boy, and they're still hitting
Hey,
you. They're still hitting you, bro.
yo.
You're just picking your poison at that point. This is an edit in because I forgot this very important caveat that Unk said he was going to cover, and he didn't. So remember I said the PB&J scenario is good for Arknights Endfield, and it is, because if you lose a 50-50 to the compatible limited banner character that's coming next, you just saved a bunch of resources and potential money for spenders. However, a staggered banner scenario is not good for Arknights Endfield, to where that is good for Wuwa and Hoyo because it gives
Staggered banner, he means when it's just one and then it's a skip. I'm assuming that's what he means.
you time to save and get that character
Yeah.
that synergizes with the other character. But often at times in Hoyo and Wuo games, they will put the best characters right next to each other because they know for a fact you're going to pull on both of them because they synergize. At least the chances are drastically increased. However, in Arknights, there is a possibility, and I caution you guys to look out for this, that they don't ever PB&J the characters. You know how there's 3 charted characters, right? 3 limited characters back to back to back. You can actually get the other 2 on the banner you're
Oh, so it's 3 per patch. Oh, shoot, I thought it'd be 2. Okay.
pulling on. Well, if they never PB&J, this is actually a shit system. And this is a possibility. I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm just saying this isn't a possibility. Because what they're going to do is they're going to put 3 non-compatible characters next to each other. And if you look,
Oh, shoot. Oh, wait. He's making a great point right now. So the PB&J basically means, if you haven't caught on already, you have character that works with another character first. The character that character works with comes out right after, and maybe even a third after him. The non-PB&J or the staggered is a character comes out, the next 1 or 2 characters that come out don't really synergize, maybe a little bit, maybe slightly, but the character after those 2 or 1 synergizes very well. Okay, I see what he means. But I'd have to say, like, I still wouldn't say staggered is bad in a sense because you can still save up, right? I'm pretty sure if you pick up some DPS and has some crazy effects where it's very unique to itself, in like the next patch or 2, someone else is coming out that's gonna beef that up, right? But at the same time, if it's PB and Jade, you can just get both of them real easily, right? That chance, that 25% chance can hit like crazy. So I see what he's trying to say.
Lose the 50-50 and get the next character on the charted banner, then you have two characters who are missing their best in slots, and their best in slots aren't going to come until the next three charted characters. And so this is going to be a never-ending FOMO-induced system where you lose a 50-50, you get another limited character. Great, but I don't have their partner, which means you're going to be perpetuated to constantly have to pull to get the partners and stuff. I just wanted to throw that out because I said I wanted to be as fair and impartial as I can about both systems. As I said before, pros and cons, polished turds. At the end of the day, they're all bending you over. This could happen. Aura geometries. This is the resource that you can buy out of the shop.
Okay.
But it can also be converted into pulls or weapon pulls. But you can get them as you go through the game and explore the game. Now,
is it only out of exploration, so very limited, only when a new region comes out that we get that stuff? Or is it something you get at the end game, something you get out of like random events they put in the game?
Now it's a finite resource, and we all know they're not going to hand this shit out like lollipops at the dentist's office for my 3-year-old daughter. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, only for big patches like the launch patch and maybe a 2.0 or 3.0, they probably do it, right? They're not doing that on 1.5. It's just not happening.
Right? It's going to be quite finite. But I'll be real, this literally just doesn't exist in both Wuwa and in Hoyo games.
Yeah, so it's slightly better.
I can't say this is better because this falls under the territory of how much pool economy looks like. How much pool economy are we getting in totality, including these origins?
Oh, yeah, you can't say it's better yet because you have to know. Because there is a number for each game, right? There's a number of, I would say average, because patches, they go up and down in the amount they give you, right? But every average is a certain number, right? Who has the biggest number? That is what you're looking for. And it's a lot of math you got to do. And you got to wait, too, because you got to see what the average patch looks like for Arknights Endfield, which we don't know yet, which would take like 2 to 3 months, like he was saying earlier.
Geometries. That is what's going to decide whether Arknights Endfield in this is actually better. And that is, again, by design intentionally to confuse you. You see what I mean?
Yep.
So right here, it's like Wuwa might still be better. They might still give more pulls acquisition in comparison to their entire gacha system. They might not. I don't know. Finally, 120 pulls is cheaper than 180 and 160. That is the best. Like, literally, that's just as simple as it gets. The fact that the purchasing power gives you the exact same pulls, and then you have 120 pity versus 180 and 160.
Oh, yeah, that's great for spenders, right? That's amazing for spenders. I don't know if it's better for free to play because they might just do the math in a way where if you're free to play in X game and Y game, it still ends up being about the same. But spenders, this is objectively just a better time for you.
It's just better. There's no other way to put it. For the spender, for the person who spends money, this is straight up just better. Shop prices are also given the same amount of pulls, which means the lower pity is actually a better bargain. Yeah, pretty much what I said. It's like a straight shot there. 6-star weapon banner is a 4% drop rate versus a 0.8% drop rate in Wuwa and a 0.6% drop rate in Genshin.
4%? Dude, I've played games where it's 1% to get something. And 1%, you'd be surprised how often it happens. 4%? And compared to the increase of the 0.8 and 0.6, not even in the same universe. Not even in the same universe. It more than quadruples what they're offering. That's awesome. That's a really good change. That's a really good update to a gacha system right there.
Guys, this is no contest. You grind the Arsenal tickets weekly for free. You get them when you pull on the limited banner, and it doesn't share the same resource as the limited banner. And it's a 4% drop rate for the 6-star weapon to appear. This is just objectively better. You are arguing with a fact at this point. The only thing that people can use is the most extreme argument, and that is, what if you get a character early? Then you don't have enough of that Arsenal ticket. True. That's absolutely true, but you can grind the resource weekly. If the banner expires, who cares?
Well, it's not even that, right? Because objectively, the average pool you do will you'll get a 6-star weapon quicker most of the time than you would in the other games. On average, you would just because of the percent, right? You're probably going to be getting it. I wouldn't be. It wouldn't be crazy to me if people get it as early as 40 in quite frequently. I wouldn't be surprised at a 4% chance. Because think about it, right? You do 10 summons at a time. Most people do. Most people don't do singles. 10 at a time. That's 4% 10 different times compared to zero point 0.8 or 0.6% 10 different times in one go. Like eventually you're gonna touch it. Like imagine this, right? By like a balance of probabilities, if you do a 10 pool on a 10% drop rate, by the balance of probabilities, you are expected to get it in that 10 pool. And 4% is only 6% off from 10, just by the balance of probabilities, in comparison to the less than 1% values.
Because guess what? In Wuthering Waves, you're not getting this at all, my guy. And if you use that, let's say in Wuthering Waves, you win the pity early, just like I mentioned earlier, and you decide to pull on that character's weapon, well, you just fucked yourself for the next character that you want to get because that resource is shared with the limited character. Polished turd, like, but what you cannot deny is that this 1 billion% is better than this. And then you take into consideration the weekly grind for it. It's just better. You're arguing with a fact at that point. 40 pull pity to guarantee yourself a 6-star weapon with the 4%.
Oh, that's the guarantee? Oh, dude. So wait, getting it early, that's not even getting it early. You're just getting it at 40. Okay. So how often are you going to be able to hit 40 then? Now I'm curious. Now I really want to know. This is getting me excited for the game to come out so I can see the numbers and stuff, see what's going on with that. 25% chance limited. 80 pull pity to guarantee the limited weapon. Huh. Wait. 80 pull pity to guarantee the limited weapon, but 40 pull pity to guarantee yourself a 6-star weapon. Oh, okay, so any 6-star weapon, but you hit 80, it will be the limited one. Okay. Okay. That was confusing me for a second.
Chance. This just compounds on what I'm talking about. Now, there's a 25% limited chance. This is gotcha garbage again, but it is a chance where you might get the limited character at 40 pulls. 25% chance, or limited weapon. I'm sorry, limited weapon. So if that happens, well, that's better odds, boys. You're in the casino and you're looking at the table that has the better odds at the end of the day. 80 pull pity to guarantee the limited weapon. Same as Woo-Wah. But on the way to that 80 pity, 4%.
Yeah, so you have a 1 in 4 chance on the first pity, but you have a 4% chance on every individual summon. And then the max guarantee that you can go up to is 80. I'm going to be honest. I don't think you're going to be hitting 80 that often. You might hit 81 or 2 times in the entire lifespan of this game, is my guess. Just by the balance of probabilities, how often you're going to, if you're just going for the limited, right? 4%, then 25%, which I think you're going to lose that 25% a lot. But by the time you get up to like 75, if you haven't gotten it already, you're just getting really unlucky.
Versus 0.8%. And in Woo-Wah, you just gotta share the resource or spend that money. Quick little fun fact here. I had to spend $200 to secure my Mornier. Yeah.
200.
50-50. Spent $100 to even lose the 50-50 because I had already won my 50-50 against Lene. Won my 50-50 against Lene. Spent $100 to even have enough to do a 50-50 against Mornier. Lost it. Had to spend another $100 just to secure the Mornier.
A $200 character. Characters are $200 in Wuthering Waves. Jesus Christ. Not to mention, Amius is coming out right after, and we already know she's going to be the DPS for that team. That is a $600 in total value team. Not even in total value. We haven't even talked about the weapons. Holy cow. That's insane.
And what do I have left over to show for that? Fuck all. I have a signatureless Mornier. I have a maidenless Mornier. $200 gone in the drain. In Arknights Endfield, I'll probably spend $200 and I'll have the character. and potentially a limited character on top of that, right? There's a chance, the Gamba, and then I'll be able to buy a 6-star weapon out of the shop with the leftover Arsenal tickets that I
That's better, but that's still overpriced as hell. Wow.
did during the pulls. Better scenario, to be honest. It is a better scenario. But you still spent $200 on both games.
Yeah,
You
garbage.
still got bent over in both games. The moral of the story here, guys, is we're all fucking hypocrites playing gacha games and gambling addicts. All right, GG's. What's going on, ladies?
All right, well, that's the end of it. I'm gonna be honest. This is why I say don't spend. Well, no one's heard me say it on this platform yet, but I typically say don't spend because it's a zero-sum game. And if you are gonna spend within reason. I mean, really do that. Yeah, but outside of this, I mean, gacha is slowly, very slowly, slightly, salami slicing, getting better because everybody's trying to beat out their competition. So slowly but surely, I mean, maybe 10 years down the line, we'll be comparing older systems like Genshin's into whatever game is out then and be like, you know what? This is not so bad right now. You know, the new system is actually pretty decent. So I hope we can get there sooner than later with more competition constantly coming out and fighting for the limited audience that actually plays these games. You'd be more surprised of how limited it actually is in totality because the Genshin boom brought in a whole bunch of new players to Gacha. But after that, I don't think a whole bunch of new players came in for games like Wuthering Waves or Zenless or Honkai Star Rail or Arknights Endfield, which is coming out now. So they're all fighting for this limited pool. So you have to make the deal better and better. So we'll see what happens and see you next time.